So I guess just to kind of give everybody a little bit of a heads up, we are at OTC 2025.
Indeed.
So how's it been so far with you guys?
You know, I have to say that this is actually my first time here. It's been a lot of other events I've been prioritizing, but honestly speaking, we're in a great position. We're in the Norwegian pavilion.
Yeah.
It's like right in the mainstream. We're seeing a lot of activity. You know, a lot of companies coming by, having conversations. I was reflecting, looking back at the booth and going, wow, you know, I've hardly seen a moment during the whole day yesterday that there wasn't some sort of an engagement or demo or some conversation going. So that's been awesome.
Yeah, very cool.
And today's been good. It's been
a little busy today, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's a lot of moving, let's say, pieces. A lot of people coming by.
Yeah,
interesting. We have this hologram, which I think is
I know, it's amazing.
Creating some attention.
It's amazing.
Yeah, you know, all in all, I'm very happy. Happy to be here.
Very awesome. Awesome. Well, I guess just to start, let's introduce yourself to the audience and what you want to share about your company, who your company is, why you guys exist, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, fantastic. So I'm Christian Hearns. I'm the Senior Vice President of AIS, so I'm responsible for, let's say, all growth within the company. I've been here about 9 months, but obviously I'm not new to the game. So, 25 years plus in the industry. Kind of born and raised in Schlumberger back in the days working technical, and then kind of moved into different positions, but throughout everything, the red thread was, sales. Talking to my customers, trying to create value. AIS is a company that's owned by Alpha Group, predominantly. Our mission is to enable engineers to do a great job, be more efficient. Connect to different data systems and enable them to make good decisions and go through their day feeling that they can contribute and give value.
Yes.
So that's kind of our mission in life, I guess, is to make everything flow better.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So the question that I can't wait to ask: do you like cucumbers?
You know what? I think when we're kind of a startup scale up. Right?
I saw that on your website, and I was like, I've got to ask them about the cucumbers.
It's one of these things that I think, if you're going to connect to the innovation side and also maybe connect to the younger group, it's all about not only, working hard and getting a lot of good technology in, getting results. It's also about having fun.
Yes.
So the cucumber became kind of one of those things where, we have a gathering point, we can celebrate something, and as weird as it sounds as a cucumber, it was something that actually worked, right?
Yeah.
So we're moving on. We're not only celebrating the cucumber today, but thanks for asking.
And just to give some context to people, so there's the 3 C's: the collaboration, curiosity, and cucumber.
Exactly.
That's amazing. So when we talk about, you talk about connecting people, making the right decisions, what problem are you really trying to solve? What is the underlying? There's always a problem. Then there's the real problem. So what is that real problem for you guys, and what are you able to maybe share a story or something that you've experienced within your company, within your clients, that your company is able to solve for them?
So I think that it's funny, I started back in '98, and of course I was working within data management and information management, and we were going to solve everything in the next couple of years, and it had to do with data available, it had to do with data quality, it had to do with all of these things. But here I am in 2025, and we're still not there, right? So there's a lot of issues, there's a lot of use cases that needs to be solved. Some of the things that we're looking at is, if you look at it from an engineering perspective, and we're going all the way from like a design into a construction phase, into a pre-operation, into operation and modification. There's a lot of use cases here, hundreds. But just to pick out a couple, one of the things that we put our brand back to behind is the ability to find information. So if you're an engineer today and you're working in, let's say, an EPC or operations, you're going to have to relate to 6, 7, 8 different expert systems. And that's very cumbersome. So going out, trying to find this information, trying to piece it together, trying to worry about is this the single source of truth? Is it the same thing I'm looking at? And trying to be efficient about it. So we see quite a substantial amount of time across the board on people trying to do these type of projects in just finding information.
So it's so relatable to the oil and gas, right? Because 100%. Finding things is what they're good at.
In the reservoir.
But in the data side, not so much, right?
Back in the days, data wasn't really valued, but I think now data is becoming more more value. And you could, I think one of our discussions today might be if is there enough data, or is there too much?
Yeah.
But
it's
just
sifting and trying to figure out what that right data is.
Just fundamentally trying to find information is one of the things that we really are trying to solve.
Yeah.
The other part of that is also that once you find the information, what are you going to do about it?
Yes.
So
actionable.
Actionable, yes.
Yes.
So I think getting the context of the decisions you're about to take is extremely relevant. Yeah. So in order to make a good decision, in order to, of course, make a quick decision, because it's not about spending enough, infinite amount of time making a decision. It's also about making a decision, learning from, maybe it was a right or a wrong decision, but at least moving forward and making sure that you become effective.
Yeah.
So we're there to solve that. Yeah. The engineer with us, they just go into one system. That's what they relate to, and that's where they find the information. And they are being incredibly, let's say, efficient from that. Yeah.
I would say if everybody can make the right decision, it had long enough time, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the whole trick, right? And we don't have.
We don't have enough time.
No, nobody has that time.
So you talked about a source of truth and kind of how you guys bring everything into kind of one pane of glass, if you will.
Yeah, exactly.
But truth and trust, they're not always the same.
Yeah.
You can have truth, but do you trust that truth? And so we talk. I talk to a lot of companies about single source of truth there, but then their single source of truth actually looks like, well, we kind of have 3 single source of truths. Yeah. And it's well, for this it's over here, and for this it's over here. Yeah. How does your company look at single source of truth and provide trust to that single source of truth?
Yeah, well, fundamentally, we are a visualization that aggregates data from the systems that you're already trusting. So we're not going in there to replace or destroy, or ask you to, let's say, not trust your expert systems. Yeah. So you're going to be doing your work in the same products and the same programs that you're doing today, and that's where you'll be doing your data quality. Yeah. We just
that's important.
We just ingest that data. We put it into one view, and trust comes from the expert systems. Now, if you want to go deeper into the model, if you want to go deeper into your work order, go back into SAP, continue to do the work, do the changes. We get aggregated back into the visualization. And I think where trust comes is using the system and realizing that I can find things. Yeah. And if that happens enough times, then that becomes your go-to. You know? And I think if you look at what are the companies saving when they use our twin, we measure everything today because now we can. We have the data, right? We're talking about the data, so we can measure it. We know how long people are in different areas of the product. How are they? What are they searching on? Are they finding it? Yeah. And one of the things that we're saying, mapping this out, is that every time somebody did a search within ACE, they were saving 12 minutes. Nice. Every time they were using the 2D model, they were saving 13 minutes. Every time they were using the 3D model, they were saving 16 minutes.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So one of my customers here, we were talking about this, and it's kind of funny, and they were like, but Christian, when I do search, I wasn't saving 12 minutes. I was saving 8. I said, that's great. That's awesome. You're at the higher end of the data maturity and the investment level. Sure. And if 8 minutes is great. And I said, but did you realize that on that operations, you had over 60,000 searches? So 60,000 times 8 minutes, blah, blah, blah. Sure. You get to a very strong value case. Yeah. And actually that value case alone, amongst the hundreds, is even enough just to justify the cost of the product.
Sure. Yeah.
So, now we get into like the no-brainer land. I think we're if you're looking at the effort you need to put in place to get something up and running, if you look at the data you already have, if you look at the investment you're making into the data quality, why don't aggregate it together and really get some value out of it?
100%. Yeah. Now, AI, I don't think there's been a conference in the last year, 12 months that has been whatever conference you want to call it, but at the end of the day, they're all AI conferences these days.
Absolutely.
So when we talk about AI, and especially like what you guys do, I mean, it kind of just goes hand in hand, because all you're doing is accelerating what you're already able to do well. But what happens around, let me just ask you the question, how are you guys either using AI today or planning to use AI more maturely within your company structure?
Yeah, I think, that's a great question, and I think that even down to if you don't put AI on a slide, you're not going to attract the crowd, even if you're not talking about AI.
It's true. It's so true, right? Man.
Yeah, let's say we are at the opinion that yes, AI, right? It's going to come, and we all need to relate. We're already relating to it. Every time you go into your phone, there's a face recognition that's around us. But we also believe in that you need to start somewhere. You need to start, getting value from, I would say, quote, the basics.
Yes.
You have the data, you haven't aggregated it, you're not working efficiently enough. We always say that I think your engineers are wasting your time, and I think that's true. You're not being efficient enough. So start with the basics.
Yes.
You don't have to be perfect in data quality. You don't have to wait for that, then you're going to wait forever. Just get started. Highlight it, visualize it, prioritize where you need to do some work, and then start that journey.
So what does that look like for a company, though? Like what?
In some form of AI, further along.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I think eventually you're 100% right that AI is kind of, again, it's an accelerator, right?
Yeah.
And people think, oh, AI, but most companies are not ready for AI.
Yeah, exactly.
And I would imagine that most companies that you're talking to, at least depending on what stage they're at, they may not even be ready for non-AI technologies.
Yeah.
So how do you walk a company through that? How do you kind of walk them through to kind of tell them, hey, this is great. And AI, you might have seen that slide, but you're not ready for that slide yet. How do you walk them through that and really take them on that journey to get them to that state that they're looking for?
It really depends on which company you're talking to, at what level they're in the company, but some of them are actually relieved, because it's like...
I don't want to do it.
Because they've been asked by the company and the manager to do something about that. Yeah. And although we all realize that this is something, right?
Yeah.
That we have to...
It's not going away.
Yeah. But you can't just jump to that. You need to start somewhere. And I think that's where we're giving them a relief, just to say that, look, yes, we're going to get to that point, but let's start with the first part of that journey.
Yeah.
Get into the car, turn the key, start driving on the road. You're not going to reach the top of the mountain immediately, but we're going to get you there. Yeah. So that's the conversation we do. We talk about data maturity. We talk about what kind of infrastructure you need in place. We talk about what kind of data you need to have to get some of the use cases released, and that's where we start. So, and of course, there are companies that have a very mature thinking and have maybe come further down that track, and that's great. They have technologies. If there's data coming out of that, we're happy to look at how can we ingest those.
Yeah.
But for right now, we're kind of that in between pill to say, don't worry about it. There's a lot of value to be had here. AI is coming, but for now, let's start with the start.
Yeah. So let's take a step back and talk about digital twin, because AI can overwhelm the conversation sometimes, but really when it comes down to digital twin, you ask 5 different people what digital twin means, you're going to get 5 different answers typically. So how do you explain digital twin to our audience in a way that allows them to understand how you guys approach and see digital twin as a solution architect for a company?
So we're like the visual digital twins. We are actually a read-only system, so we're not here to disrupt your extra systems. We're not here to replace, as I was talking about earlier. We're here to make you aware of the data that you already have. Thank you so much. So and of course, the definition in our world of a digital twin is a digital representation of a heavy asset, right?
Okay.
So we're still there, but in the end, for us, it's visualizing your 3D model, getting it connected to your work orders, to your different procurement documentation, construction documentation, anything that has to do with you building or operating that heavy asset. That's what we want to visualize for you.
Yeah.
So you can call it whatever you want, and I think digital twin is probably the most used word. It could just be a top drive piece of equipment.
Yeah.
It could be like, for us, it's an entire FPSO topside.
Okay.
So it's very varying, but for us, it's about visualization. It's about getting the data in. It's about connecting the dots within the system. Mm-hmm. It's about allowing the different engineers to collaborate, not only within their own siloed groups, but also with their sub-suppliers.
Yeah.
Understanding if things are delayed, understanding if there's a consequence, like, let's say I'm going to do some a modification in a certain area. It's relevant for me to understand if there's other operations going at the same time. So if there's some welding happening, or if there's some barrier in the way that prevents me from coming in. Those are very relevant things.
Yeah.
The twin will help you find that out.
Yeah. So we were talking a little before the show, and something we talked about was how people are very visual, and how you solve that problem, and I thought that was really interesting. But when you're talking about what goals people have in a company, this solves it too, because I was reading a statistic and it says 42% more likely to reach your goal when you write it down, versus just like hearing it or talking about it otherwise.
I agree to that.
And so you're essentially helping someone be 42% more likely to reach their goal by just having your software in place.
Just having it available.
Just having it available and visualizing it. That's amazing what that can do for decision making, strategies, everything else. So we're kind of wrapping up to the end here. Curious on what's exciting, the most exciting thing that you have in store, whether it's with your company related, just technology you've seen. What do you think in the next 12 months is something that we should watch, that you're again just super excited about?
Well, I think one of the things that ACE does very well, when it comes to the digital twin, is that we kind of cover the whole cycle, right?
Okay.
So you can get us in early in the design phase.
Okay.
We can join you through the whole design and into EPC construction phase. We can join you into the pre-ops and into the operational phase. So you kind of get like that, the birth to the cradle type of a solution. And I think we're very unique in that. We also have new types of functionalities coming out. Just the ability to, for example, create tags within the system when you otherwise are not aware. We're getting in time series.
Are those spatial as well?
There's some spatial component to this as well, but we're starting that journey.
That's awesome.
And we're taking that forward.
Okay.
We're connecting to more and more systems. We're working in tandem with our customers. We are also very tight with our owner, Aker Group. They also own Aker BP and Aker Solutions.
Okay.
And of course, being that close to the user and having access to them, their competency is extremely important. So everything we do has been heavily vetted by the experts. I think what we're doing now, heads up for the subsea. It's not that we deliberately went into, hey, let's make the subsea now.
Sure.
But we ingest the data. We built the model. We presented that to a bunch of subsea engineers. They liked it a lot. And it's like, okay, now we're going subsea. In the future, we're also heading onshore.
Okay.
So we're going to be continuing to expand our footprint.
Okay.
I think the value cases that we bring, like remote planning, as we talked about, the find, the cradle to grave.
Yes.
All those things are, let's say, being worked on and becoming more and more strong and more rich with functionality. So I think stay tuned. And just say that here at the OTC we're at booth 2643. I need to do a little bit of commercial here, right?
Absolutely.
So we would love for you to come by. We'll give you a good demo. We'll show you what we're working on, where we're going, what kind of value we can give you as a company. Join the mission to make data.
Now, are you guys going to be at another conference after this one? And if so, where can people find you outside of your website, which we'll link to and whatnot as well?
So one of the ones that we have is right after, let's say, after summer, so September.
Okay.
It will be the World FPSO Congress in Singapore.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So we're going to be there.
Great.
We're going to bring our hologram with us.
Nice.
She's always with us, giving that nice glare. And then we have a couple of other events that we're going to be, we're considering to attend this year. But we're ramping up, right? So I think ACE is a reasonably new company. Our product is been in the market a couple of years now, and we're gaining traction very much so. Next year we'll be even expanding our events portfolio. So heads up for us.
Very cool. Very cool.
We're coming.
Well, Christian, thank you so much for coming on Smidgen of Proof. It's great to have you. I'm glad we met and glad that you spent the time with us today.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cheers.
Thanks so much, man.